Hello everyone, Pulse here, and I want to welcome you to the start of some EverQuest Next coverage in the form of a potentially new series called Forging Fantasy EverQuest Next. Now the idea of this series is to emulate the same discussion and commentary styles that I put into my ESO coverage thus far, but obviously aim towards a totally different style of game that is going to be EverQuest Next. Now in this first episode, I've decided to discuss something that is fairly interesting with how SOE is developing EverQuest Next, and that's what they're calling EverQuest Next Landmark. So what is Landmark really? Well, Landmark is the systems that we've been shown already, which places all of these tools for world building into the hands of the player base. The big thing about Landmark, though, is that it's actually going to be separate from EverQuest Next. They are going to be released separately from each other. They're two separate entities, okay? But they're going to be heavily connected. So even though they're separate, they're together. It's a weird kind of thing they're going with this. But Landmark, for example, is going to come out fairly soon, right? It's going to come out sometime this winter, and then we're going to use those tools to start building pretty damn soon. We're going to start seeing the creations of the players, and then that's going to influence what the MMORPG EverQuest Next is going to turn out to be, and that's not going to launch sometime way down the road, really. So let's get into the mechanics of Landmark. What are some of the things we should expect with it? Well, to start off, it's going to provide those vast amounts of procedurally generated spaces that we've seen, and you can just go out there and adventure into it, and then do what you will, make whatever your heart desires, really. And what you're going to do is you're going to go out into the world, you're going to make your claims, put down your mark, they've said, and even lay down territory lines, and really develop the world as you see fit. Now, we don't really know the specifics on how territory lines or making claims or any of that stuff is going to work as a game mechanic, but it would seem to be that you go out, you make your claim, it's going to start out small, and as you put time into it, you can obviously make bigger and bigger areas and make bigger and bigger territories as well. So you have this go out into the world and you make your claim thing. And then you have, in addition to that, the exploration and material gathering that's going to be used for crafting and making the buildings and giving you the materials needed to create these things that you can see in your head and you want to make reality. And then you're going to use those things to build in this fantasy world and really shape it to what you will. But one of the more important details I need to mention before I skip over it and just completely miss it is that we're going to have these buildings with realistic physics utilized. We've seen some of the physics used with the destruction of buildings during their presentation. In particular, the demonstration where the golem just crushes through a castle. So the buildings are going to be different parts. There's going to be physics there, and what this means is the most skilled of builders and the people that really put themselves in a hardcore architect seat, you put their pants on and you really give it some hardcore thought. These people that really take it seriously are going to reign supreme, and their buildings are just going to be on a higher tier. And with this very idea of construction, building, and forging this world to our heart's content, it really brings along what I feel to be Landmark's biggest features. The first one is the ability to utilize Landmark in a way that can actually make you money, which in particular is through the SOE Player Studio. Now, I expressed some concerns about this idea as a whole in my Impulse Reactions video on EverQuest Next, but luckily I had multiple tell me through the comments and sent to my YouTube inbox that the previously released SOE titles which utilized the Player Studio feature, they weren't broken by player-made objects and items and all that garbage that I was really worried about, and I was assured on multiple counts that SOE has done fairly well to limit the items to cosmetics and flavor stuff. So pretty much they seem to give me what I pleaded for, and that's that players won't be able to go just completely wild with it and then ruin the experience for everyone. So I'm glad to admit I've had a rather large sigh of relief on that, because that was one of those big things that was kind of worrying me about EverQuest Next. But let's focus on some of the positives of that system now, because we don't have to worry about people ruining the experience so much. So now we can just think Well, with this system, there's another tick mark of awesome with EverQuest Next, and that's players will have the ability to forge and create so much with this this world, and between the building tools of what Landmark is about, and the ability to make items and then sell them and trade, and just have this really kind of community around building huge. I can really foresee lots and lots of like groups coming together and building just massive buildings and structures and cities, and that's really exciting. Now, this goes on to what I would think is the most important part, and I should say I feel like I've probably missed some people, right? Because at the beginning I made sure to say that this is going to influence EverQuest Next, and then I also said that they're going to be separate entities. So this leads, like I said, into the most important part, and that's they're going to influence the MMO, both before and after. Landmark and the tools used to make the world and these like player-created items are all going to influence heavily what EverQuest Next, the MMO, turns out to be. And it's really exciting. In fact, I'll just quote right from their official website to really clear it up and make sure that we're all on the same page here. They have EverQuest Next Landmark is a world where you can design and make anything you can imagine. Objects and buildings that players construct may be featured in EverQuest Next. EverQuest Next is being created with an open development process. We will be building this game with you, our players. The first stage of this process is a roundtable where you can weigh in on the issues of the development team and their discussions. The second stage is EverQuest Next Landmark, where you can make objects and buildings that may be featured in EverQuest Next. EverQuest Next launch date will be determined based on the work throughout this development process together. And then finally, Roundtable is a key part of the open development process that we'll be using as we create EverQuest Next. Through it, we'll be gathering feedback and engaging in discussion with our community about how EverQuest Next will be built. So what this means for us as the player base and the people who are really excited about it is that by the time we have Landmark, we'll have already been through what they're calling the Roundtable, and we'll already have given our opinions and discussions with the developer about really how EverQuest Next and Landmark are turning out and how we want them to progress, and really just give them our thoughts about how we want these experiences to come together by the time they're released. And then after this, a good bit of like discussion that we've already had, we'll have Landmark in our hands fairly soon to create these buildings, features, environments, adventures, all of these glorious things that will appear in EverQuest Next when it comes along further down the road. With the way that they've kind of decided to initiate the earthquakes and stuff as well, I should say. The destructibility and all of these things coming into play along with Landmark, it really lets me think that what they're going to implement is, in Landmark, you're going to make these buildings and make these adventures and environments and all of that stuff, and then they can, in EverQuest Next anyway, initiate some destruction and then rebuild the world, and then implement new things that were in Landmark. Maybe somebody made something new since the last time there was some destruction and rebuilding, and they decide, well, with this like next patch or next dynamic event, we're gonna scrape off this part of the world and put in this new creation that was on Landmark, and now we'll have brand new experiences from that. And that's all super exciting, and it just sounds awesome. But there's one thing, I'm a little torn on how they're implementing this separately, and it's a little bit weird to say that I feel this way, because I usually am just opinionated in one way or the other. But as I mentioned in my first reactions video, I could foresee an amazing PvP scenario happening where there would be this like dynamic where amazing master builders in strategic demolition of player-made strongholds could create this dynamic of player versus player content not before seen in an MMO, and when I really think about it, maybe not in a video game, period. And this realization that these are going to be separate could potentially nullify this like very pipe dreamy kind of thing going on in my head. But it's hard to say if Landmark's tools will be completely absent from EverQuest Next or not. they're not very clear, but I would hope, and it kind of seems like they would be wanting to do this with their whole let the player be in control of the world and the way destructibility works, is that Landmark will have all of the tools from the get-go, and with its like pre-release from the MMO, we'll have a lot of time to get our hands on with the tools and experience it, and just really dive into our brains and make the dream creations that we want, and make them reality. And then by the time EverQuest Next comes around, where they change the tone of the game from Landmark being about the world building, and then they change it in EverQuest Next to more character development and adventure and more RPG elements that would go along with an MMO. When those things become the focus of gameplay, maybe we'll still be allowed smaller amounts of customization to the world where we can still create, right? But it'll take a lot more effort and a lot more time investment and a lot more teamwork as well. That way, this dynamic of PvP engagement that I really want to see happen with this game can still be realized, but it won't be quite as large scope. So you'll still have it where large teams of people can build these buildings and strongholds, and you can still fight over the areas and still like control your special place on the map and that sort of thing. But obviously that can get wiped away with whatever SOE wants to do with their game. If they just decide, well, these like players over here have been fighting for a while now, and it's kind of gotten a little out of hand, maybe they're causing some trouble, bam, let's put a damn fissure right through it all and then rebuild the world in a way so that they won't really feel the need to build there again. If they allow people to build a little bit, and then they can just use their world destruction and creation tools in the background to like reset the slate of things and then move those experiences around, that would just be a really cool game mechanic and just a whole system of things that would work really well, in my opinion. Now let me see here. The question, I guess, comes down to this. Do you think that these mechanics, as I mentioned, where you can maybe build in the MMO version of EverQuest Next, do you think that maybe we won't see them because these tools will limit what they can do with EverQuest Next, and maybe they impede on the way that SOE procedurally generates their game, and maybe the way that it destroys things and recreates the world on they've said that they're going to do this on a regular basis, and like I said, kind of reset the slate and give us new adventures fairly regularly. The question is, do the mechanics of Landmark, even if they're put in a very limited state into EverQuest Next, will that cause tech issues? Only time will tell, really, but I'm not really sure. I think that we could see that, but like I said, only time will tell. Now, let's get back onto Landmark. I've kind of gotten a little distracted there. Yeah, let's talk about Landmark to finish up. Landmark looks to offer a pretty amazingly engrossing set of world-building tools, and they're also going to offer the exploration that, even without the connection to EverQuest Next, that kind of makes this exciting in the first place. I feel like Landmark by itself, it would be a game worth following, and I've actually seen a lot of people compare it pretty instantly after the reveal to Minecraft, and I actually feel like that's a fair comparison. But what we're being promised with EverQuest Next Landmark is on just a whole nother level. It is just above and beyond. It is honestly a unreal step up from the voxel-based systems of Minecraft and similar games. We don't know a lot, admittedly, about everything that's going to happen with Landmark and how it's connected and all that thing, but everything really points towards an amazing experience which will facilitate the role players, the explorers, and the world builders on a level that we haven't really seen with an MMO at all. The question remains, though, is there positives to it being separate, or is it a negative that they're separate? We shall see with the way time goes on. I feel like it's a very on the fence kind of thing, because the argument is, well, if they put it in there, it could impede on the the RPG elements that they're wanting. They're wanting that to be an MMO, and then Landmark will be the Minecrafty thing. I hope that they're connected a little bit more than that, but the argument is on both sides, so it's hard to say. But that'll do it for me, guys, on this premiere episode of Forging Fantasy EverQuest Next. And I'd like to ask you guys, let me know how you feel about Landmark and what it could potentially mean for the overall experience of EverQuest Next. And what do you guys think about it being separate? But before I go, guys, I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching. And if I could ask you guys, I'd really appreciate a like, a subscribe, a comment down below on anything EverQuest Next, MMO related, or gaming in general, to be honest. But this has been Pulse, guys, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. See ya.